Hi, welcome to my video on more graphing of polynomials. The pattern for graphing polynomials in intercept form, and the intercept form is y equals a bracket x minus b bracket x minus c bracket x minus d it continues on, and we could have powers of 2 and 3 etc. 4 up here. So the steps I'm going to use is find the x-intercepts and plot each. Then I'm going to find the y-intercept and plot it. And I'm going to note that if a is greater than 0, you start in quadrant 1 and go down to the x-intercept on the far right. If a is less than 0, you start in quadrant 4 and you go up to the x-intercept on the far right. And if you have x minus b with a power of 1, you go through. You form a line going up, or a line going up this way. This is up to the right, and this is up to the left. Or if you have a binomial with a square that bounces off its tangent at the intercept, and it's a parabola which goes up if it's positive or goes down if it's negative. And if your binomial has a cube, then you have a sideways S that goes like this. If you're coming down from the right, and if it's negative, you're coming up from the right, and the bottom you're graphing in quadrant 4. Let's do some examples of that. That's the way I practice, and I taught many of the students. Graph each. We're only going to do a sketch. Not as you can see, I just have the axis xy. So what we have here, we have the x-intercepts. We have x-intercepts are -2 and 4. So we're going to plot, just take an estimate of -2 and a 4. There they are. There's the x-intercepts. Now the y-intercept is when you make x equals 0. So if you make x equals 0, 2, -4 is -8. So you have a y-intercept of -8, and I'm just going to put that -8 just right here. It's not on the scale. So we have notice it's a positive, so we're going up from the right, so we start to come down, and notice it's a single, 1 and 1, so we go on through, and we come on down, down, we take a bend, we come up through the y-intercept, and notice we go on through. And these two are 1 and 1, so they go on through at the intercepts. Notice this is a parabola. And the why I get the y-intercept to make sure I'm, do I start up here and come down, or do I start down here and go up? So the y-intercept keeps me in line, make sure I don't make a mistake. Here we go again. B. We have the x-intercepts are 3 and a -1. Remember what we're doing. If we let x minus 3 equals 0, then x equals 3. So when we put 3 back in here, we have y is equal to 0. When we put -1 here, we have y equals 0. So the x-intercepts are 3 and a -1. So there's the -1, and there's the 3. Now, because it's negative, that means we start down here and go up. It's coming up from here. So at the furthest x-intercept is 3, there's a 1. Because that's a 1 power, that means we come up here and we go on through. Now we get the y-intercept should be somewhere up here. Let's check. Let's let x equals 0. And we get -3, 1 squared. So we get -3, 1, so the y-intercept is 3. So let's put a 3 here. So we're going up, and we can go up above it and then come down. I'm not concerned where the bend is. Now the bend can't be down here, because then, so the bend has to be at least at 3 or above. So, but we forgot to do at -1. we don't go on through. So what happens? I thought it was linear, but I was looking. So we come down at -1 and we bend back up. So this is not, I can't go on through here. I have to come down and do a bend because it's tangent at the -1. So watch out for that. So this is a linear here, is going on through, perfect. And right here, because it's a square, is bouncing off as tangent right here at -1. And the y-intercept is 3. Be careful, that's bouncing off. That's a linear going through. Let's do another one. We got x-intercepts of a -3 and 1. So the x-intercepts are -3. Let's say it's right there. And a 1, let's say 1 is right there. And what's the y-intercept? We let x equal 0. And we get a 3, -1 cubed. 3, -1 cubed is -1. So that becomes -3. So the y-intercept is -3. So be careful. Now the furthest x-intercept is a 1. And notice this is positive. So I'm coming down from up here. At 1 I got a cube. Notice the x-intercept on the right. We start here. We come down to here. But at x-intercept of 1 we have a cube. That means we come down and we have a sideways S. So we just come in like this. Come down. And then you can bend. Once you go below, you can bend. Now we're going up towards the -3 here, which is a 1, so we go on through. So there's the graph. Notice the cube is a sideways S here. And you ask your teacher, you don't have to be, as long as the teacher recognizes that you got a sideways S here. Okay, D. Again, we got x-intercepts of 0, -2, and 3. And now we're going to let x equals 0. So we got a 0 there, 0 there, and a 0 there. Now I don't have to work any of these out because this is a 0 times this, so that's a 0. So the y-intercept is the same as the x-intercept of 0. So we got zeros. We have a -2. Make sure that's a -2. And this is a 3. Now, notice it's negative. So if it's positive, we come down, go up from here, come down from here. And if it's negative, we start down here and come up to the 3. At 3, we have a square, so that means it's bouncing off. So I'm coming up from here, because it's negative, I'm coming up from here. And at 3 is a square, so I come up and I bounce off like a parabola. Tangent. Now I got to go back up because I got another intercept here. So when I do, at 0 is linear, so I got to turn and go up through. Because that's an x, which is a linear 1, I go on through. Now once I get up here, I got to bend and come down to the -2, which is here, and it's a square, so I got to turn. When I come down, it hits and it bounces off. Again, it's a parabola at that point. So there's the graph. And again, just to go back, this graph right here is a quadratic. Because it's 1 and 1 is 2, degree 2. This graph here is a cubic. It's 2 and 1 is 3, cubic. And this graph here is 3 and 1 is quartic, degree 4. And this graph here is 2, 2, 1 is quintic, degree 5. And this graph right here, well, we're not to it yet, but we got a 3 and a 1, so there's a quartic. And the x-intercepts are -1 and 2. X-intercepts are -1 and 2. So we just approximate them. And when we let x equal 0, we get 1 cubed, -2, and that gives me 1 times -2, -2. So the y-intercept is -2. Let's put it right there. And it's a positive, so it's coming down from the top. So if it's coming down at the intercept of at the intercept of 2, I come down because it's positive. I'm coming down from here. Remember, all values, when you plug the values of x greater than 2 into this equation, all the y values will be positive going up here. So that's why we're coming down from the top. So at 2 is a 1, so we're going on through. We go down now. We got to come up. There's a x-intercept of -1. So here we go. We're coming back up. We got to go through the y-intercept, but at the -1, it's a cube, so we have to go with a sideways s. So just put a loop in there, over like that, make a loop, and then there it is. So that's the graph. That's a coordinate representing that equation. Okay, so that explains some that we got done. Now, let's do some. But when we do these, each one that I'm going to do, I have each of these plugged in my calculator. So what I'm going to do is that when I get it done, I'm going to verify it on my calculator. Here we go. Pause the video and see if you can graph these correctly. And the x-intercept is 3, which is here. And the y-intercept is when you let x equals 0. So that's -9. So -9 is, put it down right there. So we have a parabola that's bouncing off, but because it's negative, I'm coming up from the bottom. So I'm coming up from here. It hits at, this is 3. So it hits here, bounces off, and then it comes on down through. So it forms its tangent. It forms a parabola, and it's going downward. Okay, so let's take that equation that I have in my calculator. You can see it, first one there. I'm going to hit graph, and there it is. Same graph as here. So take it away. Now let's do the next one. We have x-intercepts of 4, -2, 1. -4, -4. That's a positive. My mistake. See, we got to be careful. Positive, negative, positive. So it's a +4. It's a -2. And a +1. So this -4 is not in here. And they're all linears, which means they're all going straight through as a line. And because it's positive, I start from up here, and I go down through, do a bend, not concerned how far. Oh, I didn't get my y-intercept. So I let x equals 0 and take my time and work it out. That's -4, 2, -1. So that gives me an 8. So the y-intercept is 8. So let's pretend it's right there. So we go up through, up above it, and we turn, come down, and we have to go down through. And the graph looks something like. So, as you can see, we have 3 linears, so they're going on through lines. See the lines? So going on through, and we have to go up to 8, so I go up higher on this side and then come down. Now, let's look at our graph. Let's look at their equation. So I have to go over. I have to hide it. So when this is, now, when I do this, so what I've done now is, these are not, as you can see, let me take it. This is solid. That means this is going to be the graph of these won't be in my graph. So I hit graph, and there it is, similar to this one in shape. Just verifying. Okay, let's continue. Let's do this one. Don't forget to pause your video. The x-intercepts are -1. Opposite, x-intercept is 1. So I plot the -1, and I plot the 1, -1 and 1. And let's let x equal 0 and take our time and work out that one. X is 0, so it's 1 squared, -1 cubed, 1, -1, and we get, and don't forget, I forgot the negative outside here, so that makes it 1. I have to put the negative, I forgot to put the negative there. There's the negative, bring the negative down, put the zeros in, work it out, and I get 1. So the y-intercept is at 1, so let's just put it right there. Now, we got to be careful. The furthest x-intercept on the right is the 1. At 1, we have a cube, so that is a sideways s, but because it's negative, it's coming up from the bottom. So I'm coming up here, and I'm going to do a sideways s at 1. So do the loop. And the main thing is, as long as you can see this loop, sideways s right here. You go up, and you're not concerned, you got to go up above. You can't curl and come down here, you got to go up above it, come down into the y-intercept, and when you do, keep going, and notice at -1 is a square, so we got to come down and bounce off, because at -1 is a parabola, which is tangent right here, and at 1 it's a sideways s. So there's the graph. So let's have a look to see if we're right. Let's have a look at, go back, and we'll go over, take that one away. Let's go to highlight this one, and see if we get the same graph. Oop, I didn't go. Notice it's gone way up higher than me, right? Gone way higher, but the sideways s is right here. It's gone up, and it's coming down. And just go back to check the equation. There's a, oh yeah, what happens, I have a 4 here. That's number 3. There it is. I got a 2, but I gotta go down. What happens? I have a 1, and I put 1s in after to make the, that's why it's gone. Watch. There it is. There's the sideways s that you can't see so much. So, and it leaves that -1. That's a 1 there. But if I narrow in on that, if I narrow in on the x's, let's take the y's. Let's watch this. Take the y's not to be so high. And see what happens. Again, you can see the sideways s coming through there. So if I take the x's and spread them out and go -5 and 5, let's see what happens. See it more pronounced. There it is. Now you can see it. The more I zoom in on this, the better you can see the equation. Anyway, when I wrote the equation in my calculator, I said it was too high, so I changed it to 1, but I forgot to change it in my equation on my calculator. Okay, let's do this one. We have x-intercepts of -1, 1, and 2. Opposite, -1, opposite, 1, opposite, 2. So we got a -1, we have a 1, and we have a 2. And it's positive, right? But we have to work out what our y-intercept is. So we'll put the 0 in and take our time and work it out. 2, 1. That's a -1 squared, which is 1. And that's a -2. So when you multiply all that, you get 4 negative. So the y-intercept is -4. So here we go. The furthest x, that's a plus. So the furthest x-intercept on the right is the 2. At a 2, it's a linear, and it's coming down. Because it's plus, it's coming down, it's going through. Because it's a linear, it's going through. And at 1, I got to go back up. And it's a square, so it's a square, so it's a parabola, bounces off. I go on down. It's going to have I can go down through here and do the bend, or I can go down here, but I have to go to the -4 y-intercept, and at the -1 is a linear, so it goes on through. So you can go down below here, or you can come down here and go through and then bend right here. You really can't tell because we do not have enough math done. So let's look at that equation. Hopefully this one is typed in right. We got to stop that one. And we'll do number 4. Here we are. And hopefully that'll be a similar graph. Ah, yes. There it is. Coming down. Parabola here is tangent. Coming down. And you can see it's the same shape. Perfect. And number 5. Oh, I forgot the name. This is a degree 2, so this is a quadratic. This is 1, 1, 1. This is a cubic. And this is 3 and 2. This is a quintic, 5. And this is 1, 2, 1. This is a quartic. And that's a 1, 3, 1. This is a quintic. Degree 5. Here we go. The x-intercepts are 3, -1, and 1. 3, -1, and 1. So that's 3, -1, and 1. And it's a negative, so I'm coming up. At 3, it's a linear, so it's moving on through. So I'm coming up from here, and I'm moving on through because it's a 1. Now, at 1, I got a cube, so I keep going up. Now I got to come down. And at 1, I have a cube, so it's a sideways S. So I come down, and as I get down here, I make a little S going sideways. Here. And I'm coming down, but I don't have my y-intercept done. So I got to go negative 0 minus 3, 0 plus 1 cubed, and 0 minus 1. So it's a negative of -3, and that's a 1 being cubed, which is 1. And that's a -1. So 3 negatives makes a negative, and 3 times 1 is 3. So I have a -3. So I come down, and again I can go down below and come up. And what's happening at that 1? This is also at -1. I got at 1 is a linear. Whoops. I got my cube at, so I should be coming on down, sorry about that. I should be coming on down through here with a straight line. There should be a straight line coming through here. And now it bends. And because it's a linear at 3 and it's a linear at 1, so I got to go on through. Come down. Now as I go up to the y-intercept, the bending occurs sideways S is at -1. So just be careful. Always check yourself out to make sure. So there it is. It's negative, so I'm coming up from here. Again, it's a linear going on through at 3. It's a linear going on through at 1. And it's a sideways S at -1. Perfect. And let's have a look at the graphs. Go. Which one is this? Number 5. So I'll go to number 4, take it off, and I go to number 5, and I highlight it, and now I should have the graph of number 5. Yay! And it went way up, so there it is. It's gone up, and notice this is the 3, that's the 1, and notice they're going on through as a line, and notice the side, little bend here, sideways S. Okay, one more to do. 0, x 0, negative 1, and 2. The x-intercept is 0, negative 1, and 2. So I better be careful this time. And it's negative, so I'm coming up from the bottom. And at 2, it's a square, so I'm coming up. And at 2 is a square, so it's going to bounce off as a tangent. And notice x is 0. Put a 0 in here, here, here. You get x is 0, y is 0. So it passes through. The x-intercept is also the y-intercept is 0, 0. And that here is linear, so it goes up. And at negative 1, which is the intercept here, is a square, so you got to go on up through, because that's a linear, goes on through at here, and I got to bounce, come back down, and there it is. So it's a parabola at 2, perfect. It's a parabola at negative 1, perfect. It goes on through at x at 0, and it's coming up from the bottom. So that's how I practice graphing these polynomials, having quartics, quintics, cubics, when you have parabolas and triples and powers, square powers, etc., etc. Except for that minor mistake there. Whoop, and I forgot to look at the last equation. Let's look at the last equation. I got it done, so just want to look at it. Go on down. We'll undo number 5, and we'll do number 6, and we'll see what the equation is. See what the graph is like. And I'll put it alongside here just to show you. As you can see, coming up here, there it is, bounces off, tangent, goes down, comes up through 0, goes on through as a line, goes up, turns, comes down, as a tangent here because of the square. There's 2 squares here, so there's, as you can see, 2 places as tangents, and it's going on through here. And notice it's coming up from the bottom. Okay. And I hope you enjoyed that explanation. A few errors, but when you're talking so much and trying to explain so many problems, you get lost a little bit. I do anyway. Click on the like button if you like it. Click on the subscribe button. Visit my math website, www.mathfullyexplained.com, to find more information about me, my videos, and the content. That's the content on my YouTube channel called Math Fully Explained. Thank you very much for viewing the video. Bye-bye.